Hello, everyone. It is so nice to see you today. Welcome back to art. I'm excited to start a new unit with you. As you can see me, I've got a lot of eyes behind me today because we are going to start our unit on how to draw people, starting with how to draw a face, starting with how to draw eyes. Okay? And before you start, don't say, but I can't draw faces. You drew an abstract portrait. You've drawn heart cartoon faces. I think you're ready to begin drawing a person's face. So let's get started. I think you're going to like this. I think you're going to really surprise yourself with how much you are able to do. Remember, the more you practice something, the more you practice what you learn, the better you will get at it. So as soon as my screen changes over, we will get started. All right, let's do the kitten update for the week. Oh my, Maggie is still a meteorologist. She can't wait for the next time it snows so she can go into storm chaser mode. Never gets old. Molly is over it. Molly will look out and be like, yay, snow. And then she goes back to sleep. Look at Molly's whiskers. They are so long. Everything about Molly's long, especially her fur. So those are the kitty updates for the week. They're almost a year old. I can't believe it. So we're going to learn about how to draw faces and people, starting with the eyes, because eyes are the most expressive part of your face. That's the eye. Ooh. Now, we're going to learn about some of the parts of the eye before we get started. So it's going to be kind of like science class. All right. And our eyes that we draw today are going to be kind of big because we're going to learn how to draw them very well large. So when we go to draw them and put them on a face, we can draw them a lot smaller. Okay, so the parts of the eye we need to be aware of when we begin this. We have the white of the eye. We have the iris, the colored part of the eye, the pupil, the black spot in the middle of your eye that regulates how much light comes into your eye. The pupil can get bigger or smaller based on how much light it's taking in. The eyelid, so you can close your eye. The eyelashes, now eyelashes keep the dirt out of your eyes. Did you know that? They do have a purpose, and so do the eyebrows. So those are all the parts of the eye that we will be drawing today. And I will go ahead and say this, we're going to just be using pencil. We're not going to focus today on coloring the eye. Actually, when we're drawing faces, we really won't focus on color that much at all because we want to learn how to do it well in pencil first before we go back and add color. And if we have time, sometimes I'll show you how to add color to the eye, but you do not have to for this unit. You can just use pencil and paper. Now, this is very important. Your eye is really not the shape of a football, like you see here. Your eye is really the shape of a sphere. Okay, the reason why you don't see eyes that look like that on your face is because they are hidden within your face and your eyelids. Okay, but when we draw eyes, sometimes we tend to draw them on our face like Cookie Monster or Elmo. We draw them so that they're sitting outside of the face so that they are round and googly. So that's fun and cute on a cartoon character or a Muppet, but when we are drawing eyes on people, we're going to enclose the eyeball inside of the eyelids and the skin so it looks more realistic. Although I do love me some Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster and I, we got that cookie thing going on. All right, so our artist of the week is Jose Vergara. He is a 19-year-old artist from Mexico, so he's a young artist. And he is a hyper realist, which means he is a super realistic artist. His eyes or his drawings are drawn so true to life, they look like they are photographs. He only uses colored pencils. In fact, I thought this was neat. He actually uses the same brand of colored pencils that I do for my illustrations. I thought that was cool. And like I said, he is known for his hyper-realistic eye drawings. He draws other things besides eyes, but he's best known for his eyes because they are so, wow, real to life. Let's look at some of them. Whoa! Now remember what I said there, we see the parts of the eye, we see the eyelashes, the eyelid, and everybody's eye shape and eyelids and eyelashes and brows are a little different. We're going to learn how to draw a basic shape today, but the more you practice, the more you'll be able to make things look true to each person that you're trying to draw, whether it's yourself or someone else. There's other things that we can look at before we get started. Something else that I didn't mention that's part of the eye is the tear duct. I don't know if I said that or showed that on that diagram. That's why your eye stays moist, your eyes don't dry out, or if you need to cry, it releases those tears rather, sorry. So that's also a part of the eye. We must remember to draw. Let's look at some things here. See how the bottom lashes aren't stuck right on the eyeball? They're on the edge of the lower eyelid. And then you have this thing called the waterline. There's part of the eye called the waterline that you don't have anything in. And look how the eyelashes grow. The eyelashes don't, on a human face, the eyelashes don't usually go straight up. They curve out to the side, or when you look at a person's face full on or head on, you're not going to see them straight up. And look at two more here. Right, also, you see how there's kind of like a shadow over the eye? Remember, the eye's a sphere. So the eye has value, and it's going to have lighter areas and darker areas based on how much the eyelid is keeping the light out of the eye. And then there are different ways to draw eyes. You can draw surprised eyes, angry eyes, sad eyes, concerned eyes. But today we're just going to draw a regular eye, and then we'll worry about expressions later on. So this is Jose Vergara, the hyper-realistic eye artist. So I don't know about you, I'm ready to draw some eyes. You ready to draw an eye or two? Say eye. Haha. See what I did there? Okay, so let's get started. Now remember what I said. You really just need paper and pencil for learning how to draw the face. You do not need to have colored pencils, markers, crayons. It's really not necessary for this unit. Okay, I may show you, but you don't need, may show you how to color things on a face, but you don't need to. All right, so I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get started because I'm going to show you some tricks of the trade so you can draw eyes even if you've never drawn them before. You will really be impressed with what you learn. All right, you should see my table and you should see my paper, and I have it landscape style on my desk. Now I'm going to take the paper that I have behind it out for a moment. I have a trick that I'm going to show you. It's not really a trick. It's just a way to make sure that you draw your eyes correctly, or draw them in a way that's going to be as realistic and easy as possible. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold our paper in half. You could call this taco style, I guess, if you want to give it a name. But I'm taking my paper, I had it landscape style on my desk, and I'm folding it down. Remember, this is a way to learn how to draw eyes so that you are drawing them as close as humanly possible. Think of it that way. Now, I folded it in half. This is a little tricky. We did a taco fold. Now we're going to do a burrito fold. So we're going to take this paper and we're going to fold it in thirds. And I'm going to explain why in a moment. So to do a burrito fold, you may want to take your paper and just go over the edge for a moment so it's a little more bendy. Okay, but what we're going to do, we want to fold it into 3 sections. So I've got my paper all bendy here. I haven't taken it out of taco, but I'm going to put it now into burrito. and I'm going to crease it. Now, don't get upset with yourself with these thirds. We're dividing our paper in thirds. If they're not perfect, that's okay. No worries. All right. It's just the concept here, and you'll get better each time you do it. But this is a burrito fold where you fold things into thirds. Okay. So we did a taco fold first, we did a burrito fold, and now we're going to open it back up, and you should see 3 sections. We're going to keep it closed. Don't have to open it up yet. For right now, let me explain why we did this. Okay, because I forgot to say this before I changed the camera, but your eyes, your face is usually 5 eye widths apart. So there's like an eye on this side, an eye here, an eye here, an eye here, and eye here. It's how wide your face is across. Okay, you have to try it sometime. I wanted to show you that before I changed the camera, but I forgot. So we're leaving this section blank because this is going to represent the amount of space you have between your eyes. That's about the same width as your 2 eyes on your face. Does that make sense? Let me say that one more time. So there's this thing called the third eye, and it's like an invisible space on your face between your 2 eyes. That's the same width about as each eye on your face. It will make more sense after we get this going. All right, so we're going to draw eyes. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make like a little pattern. So what I'm going to do, I am going to make, I'm going to start with this one on the right. I'm going to make a vertical line. And then I'm going to make a horizontal line going through it like this, right? And you can look at it and see about how large I made this on my paper. That's how you can make, how large you can make yours. Then I'm going to put these little tick marks at the end of it. All right, now what I'm doing here is I'm showing you how to draw a circle without going like this, like that, because then your circles don't turn out perfect. This is a way to help you draw a more perfect circle. We're going to take this T shape that we made, and then we're going to start going like this, like we did our oval for our portrait, our abstract portrait. And I'm going to sketch a circle out. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. It's the idea here. Now, do you see how I'm taking my pencil and I'm making these light kind of hairy marks? When we're drawing faces, when we're drawing organic shapes, people, animals, things in nature, we pick our pencil up, okay, as we draw. Now, it does not have to be perfect. And if you wanted to, you could use a straight edge. I do not have a ruler up here, so if you don't have a ruler, it's not a big deal either. I'm just going to take this piece of paper that I folded. Okay. So you don't have to have anything extra. I'm just taking an extra piece of paper. You can take a book, and I'm just going to guesstimate it to draw my other one about in the same place. Doesn't have to be the same. Okay. We're going to make a T. We're going to make some tick marks. I call them tick marks. And if you want to make sure they're about the same length, just take your straight edge. Like if I put my straight edge here, see that, yeah, I got it about the same height. It doesn't need to be perfect, and you'll see why in a moment. Okay. And then I'm going to do my thing where I just connect them. So you now know how to draw a perfect circle without having to go around the edge and have it not line up. This is how we do that. Okay, so what I have here is a pattern for an eyeball. Yes, that's what this is all about. Now I'm going to go into my eyeball. And I'll draw the pupil. No, I'm drawing the iris. Sorry, got ahead of myself. I'm going to draw the iris. So this is a pattern for the iris. If it's not perfectly lined up, that's okay. Okay, so that mine did not go quite through the center there. Not going to worry about it. So I'm going to take my paper that I had folded here, just if I want to use a straight edge again. And I'm going to try to do the same thing using those marks that I made to get my circle. And if it's not perfect, like I said, it's not going to matter, and you will see why in a moment. And I know you're probably thinking this is cray-cray. What is she doing? What's she talking about? Drawing circles. This is not looking eyeball at all. You're going to see. Trust me. And then I'm going to do the pupil. So I did the iris, white of the eye, iris, pupil. Sorry, guys. I'm not feeling great today. So I'm kind of kind of a little off. Sorry. Been really achy and tired past 2 days. So sorry. I hope I make sense. And if not, well, I'm just having a crazy art teacher day. How's that? All right, so we've got this set up. Now, what you could do if you wanted to, and I'm going to do this so I know it works so it'll show up good on camera. Though I should probably use something that is not a black Sharpie because that's going to bleed through and I don't want that. Okay, what you can do, you can trace over this either with a pencil, go over it really dark, or you can go over it with a dark colored pencil or a dark crayon. I am going to go over the circle part. And I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on here? What you're doing though is you're making a pattern so you can practice drawing eyes. You don't have to do the T marks. In fact, I wouldn't. Okay, I wouldn't go over those. All right, so I'm gonna do that so it really shows up. Now here's kind of the magic part. What you just made is up like a pattern. So we're gonna take this cray cray circle drawing here, and then we're gonna take our paper, all right, with our thing, our circles here, and we're going to flip it in the other direction. And we're going to crease it. Crease it really good. So peekaboo, it's peekaboo time here, see? I took my eyes, and now they're hiding behind this other section that I folded over. All right? So what you can do here, and it probably won't show up awesome on camera, but I can see an outline of my eyes beneath of this paper. Okay, and I think it shows up a little bit on there, but even not if it doesn't, that's okay because we don't really need it to do what we're going to do next, or we don't want it to show up what we're going to do next. What we're doing now is we're going to draw our eye shape. So this is the eyeball. Now we're going to draw the part of the eye that we see on our face. All right, this is where you're going to be like, oh, this is why she wanted us to do it. She's not crazy after all. All right, so what we're going to do, okay, you're not going to draw those circles again. You're going to start right about here. Find the center of that eye. Look through your pattern that you see below. Find like the horizontal line that was running through the eye. Make a mark. Now, think of a deflated football. Okay, think of a deflated football. We're not drawing perfect footballs. We're drawing deflated footballs. I know. It gets crazy. I know. How is she coming up with this stuff? And then we're going to draw a line that comes out like that. Okay, so I just drew a line like that. It goes over and it stops about right where the pupil is. So it stops where the pupil starts, where that first circle we drew inside the big circle was. Then I'm going to draw another short line across, and it's kind of like halfway where that vertical line is. And then I'm going to draw another line going down, and then I'm going to draw another line going down and out a little bit. Okay, so I'm just sketched out the top of my eye, and then you can either start here or here, but we're going to draw the bottom part of the eye that we see. And the only thing you need to keep in mind here, you don't have to be as like drawing the angled lines across. You don't have to be as picky about that. We're going to try to curve it out, but I'm still going to pick my pencil up, and I want to make sure that I just go over that pupil, that first inner circle that I drew, the larger of the two. I just want to touch the edge of that. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. Right, that's our first eye shape. Now let's go over here and practice it again. Right, so we're going to do it the opposite direction. I'm going to start right about here, and I know I'm left-handed, and I know sometimes I get in my own way, but we're going to start from the same direction. All right, so I'm going to start right about here on my paper. Made a little mark there so you can see it. And then my goal is to get over to the pupil of my eye. So I'm going to draw a line on an angle, a diagonal line, like that. And then I'm going to draw another line going up. Oops, I kind of messed that up a little bit. That's okay. You mess yours up, it's all right. Hey, we're learning here. You're learning here, so it's okay. It's not perfect, it's okay. I don't expect perfection from anybody. Okay, so we draw a little line up that stops up to the center, that vertical line. Dip it down, dip it down, dip it down, so it goes across the pupil. Then we're going to go, we're going to go across the white of the eye and out to the side. Okay, then you can just go over your work. Okay, so it's like a little mountain. I call it a deflated football. I don't know how I came up with that. Because the Super Bowl was just not too long ago. And then I'm going to take my pencil, and I want to make sure that that first inner circle that I drew, the larger of the two, I just want to make sure that this line is going to go right under that, and I can still see it through my paper. Okay, I can still see it through my paper a little bit, my pattern, initial pattern there. I probably should have used a darker marker to that. I just didn't want to bleed through and leave marks and have it be hard to see. So we've got the eye shape, the part of the eye that we see. Okay, now we're cooking. So what we're going to do now, you can clean it up a little bit, but don't worry too much if it's not perfect because we're learning. I just want you to learn how to do this. It does not need to be perfect, okay? Perfection's silly. Now what we're going to do, okay, here are those eyes that we drew. There's that first inner circle. I want you to trace it. Just trace. Now, don't go outside of the shape, okay? So don't go out of the side of the shape you just drew. Just trace the part of the pupil that you will see. And if it's not perfectly lined up, don't worry about it, okay? If you have to you have to fudge it a little bit to make it work because maybe you didn't get this lined up perfectly, don't worry about it. But this is the shape we're doing, okay? We're drawing a circle that's just peeking out. And whatever I do to one eye, I do to the other. And the reason why I'm doing it this way, because it's easier to draw the eyes a little more symmetrical, so they're like a reflection or similar to each other, if you do it at the same time like this to start. When you get to be like Jose Vergara, or maybe you do this for a while, you practice drawing as you can do one eye at a time. But when we're just learning, it's better to do it like this. And then I'm going to do the pupil. Okay, I'm just outlining it for right now. Don't color it in, just outline it like this. Okay, so we got eyes now. They're looking at us. Oh, it's kind of silly. It's kind of crazy. And they're looking at us. We drew eyes. They can look back at us. Now, so we don't forget, we're going to do a little, get away here. We're going to do a little curved line right here. Just come in a little bit. That's our tear duct. Okay, it's a tear duct. That's the part of your eye that keeps the eye moist. I'm going to do it both sides here. Don't want to forget that because your eye needs that in order to stay not dry, stay wet. Sorry, I am really not feeling good today, guys. I'm really trying to keep it together so I can get this done. Now we're going to do the eyelid, okay? Now to draw an eyelid, it's going to be a curved line on top of this, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make those light sketchy marks across. So I'm going to start here about where the tear duct is. I'm just going to start taking my pencil back and forth. And I'm leaving a little bit of space between the eyelid and the eye, but I'm not going to connect it. Okay, I'm not going to show the line that it's not going to connect my eye on either side in either corner. You just come over here, do the same thing. Just pick your pencil up or sketch it, move it back and forth, okay? And if one eyelid's a little bigger than the other eyelid, that's real life. That's what people's faces look like. Nobody's eyelids are perfect. Nobody's eyes are the same shape either. So if see how one eye is a little bit smaller than the other, one of my eyes looks smaller than the other. I mean, I'm sure one of your eyes looks smaller than the other. Nobody's faces are perfect. And if you think they are, they're not. Okay, so now we have eyelids. Now we're going to go down here. So we have an upper eyelid, we have a bottom eyelid. All right, now we need to do what's called a water line. So what I'm doing, let me move my hand out of the way. We're going to make these light sketchy marks that are going to lead us to make a little, it's called a water line actually, but it shows that we have a lower eyelid. And again, they do not connect to the eye. All right, so we got done. Then we have eyelid, we have an eye, we have eyelids. Now we're going to move on to, oh, here's something else you can do. Maybe this is because I'm tired. You can go like this. Your pencil, on either side, just to add a little bit of detail, because because your eye is like an eyeball, you often will have like a little indentation under your eye or around your eye. Sometimes we call them bags under our eyes. If you're tired, you get those. Now let's talk about the hair on your eyes. Yes, you have hairy eyes. You know that? Well, you have eyelashes and you have you have eyebrows. So to do that, we're going to make these flicky marks. Now listen, we're not going to put the flicky marks on the eyeball. We're putting the flicky marks on the eyelid. And the upper eyelid, what we're going to do, don't put it right on the edge, but just go out like this. Flick your pencil out. And if it doesn't show up real on camera, and if I don't follow my own directions, sorry. But I'm just drawing some flicky lines out. And the closer you get to the edge of the eye, to the outer edge of the eye, you can make the flicky lines longer and try to curve them a little bit. Okay? You can decide how thick you want your eyelashes to be. Okay? I'll do the same thing over here. Flick, 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 flick. So I'm flicking out towards the outer corner. Flickety flick, flickety flick, flickety flickety flick, 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 flick. Don't put them on the eyeball. You don't want to have hairy eyeballs. Instead, we have hairy eyes. Okay? And as you get to the edge, you can add more or make them thicker. Make the eyelashes thicker as you get to the outer edge. For your lower eyelashes, okay, we don't put the lower eyelashes right here on the eye. Okay, so we're not putting them here. We're going to put them on the edge of that water line, on the edge of that little thin line that we drew down here that represent the lower eyelid. And it's the same deal. Flick, 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 flick. Curve out. Apply pressure, flick out. Apply pressure with your pencil, flick out. Okay? They don't have to be very numerous. These little eyelashes down here that are your lower eyelashes don't have to be very numerous. They're not like this, okay? Right? And I could have drawn these that were make these a little better curved out, but I didn't. My bad. Sorry, guys and gals. All right, eyebrows. All right. To draw an eyebrow, what you can do, I made a line. It's kind of on an angle. And then I'm going to make I call it a whisper line. I'm going to make a whisper line going across the face. Now, people have different eyebrows. Okay. So I drew this arch right here, kind of follows the shape of the eye, and I drew this shape to get me started right here on the edge, which I could have drawn a little bit lighter. Now we're going to do flicky lines, but our flicky lines are going to be similar to this, but they're going to be more straight. So I'm going to flick, 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 and I'm going to follow the curve of this line I just drew. Flick, 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 flicky, flicky, flick, 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 like that. See? Ta-da! And then you can just go in with your pencil. Flick, 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 flick. See how fast I'm going? It does not have to be perfection. And you can go back and make some of the lines a little bit straighter. And, you decide. Everybody's got different eyebrows. Same thing over here. I'm going to draw a line to get me started. Make it light. Don't make it too dark. Then draw a curved-ish line to follow the shape of my eye below. And I'm going to go flick, 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 flick. Now, these don't have to be long unless you have someone with really bushy eyebrows. And then you can just go back and fill it in. Look at this, folks. Look at you. Look at you. You can go in and touch it up as much as you need to. All right, so this is looking like, whoa, I'm not so crazy after all, showing you how to do all that stuff. All right, we're almost done, okay? Can you believe it? Now what we're going to do, we're going to add some detail to the iris of your eye. So to do that, let's think of it like a sunshine, but be really light about it, okay? We're going to make these light marks coming out from the eye like this, see? Oh, actually, you can't see, sorry. Cut my own way there. Okay, so it's like a sunshine. Think of the pupil as the sun. These are like the rays of sun are coming out to it. Make these lines coming out very light. You don't have to apply a lot of pressure. I'm going to do it over here. Pretend the pupil is the sun, and these are the sun rays, okay? You don't have to put a lot of these in there. You go back and put as many in as you want. This is like the finale, my friends. You're really going to be like, oh my gosh, I drew an eye after this is over with. Okay, now we're going to darken in the pupil now. We're going to leave a little gleam in the pupil like we did on our cartoon eyes. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to just start coloring it in, use a circular motion. But do you see how I'm leaving like a gleam in the eye, gleam on the pupil? Yes, do that. And then do the same thing over here. Shade it in. Leave a little gleam in the eye. Oh my gosh, it's like it's alive! Ah! And then we're going to do some more shading. So this is like where we show value. So I'm going to take my pencil and very lightly go around where the tear duct is and add some shading. Make it a little bit darker. Go around where the tear duct is, add some shading. Go into the corner where the outer corner is of the eye and make like a V shape. Make like a V shape with your shading. I'm not applying hardly any pressure at all with my pencil. If you have a regular pencil, like a number 2 pencil, that's probably works even better. A pencil that you sharpen than a mechanical pencil, but I like mechanical for this. And then we're going to do lightly shade across the top because our eye might have a little, be shadowed a little bit by the eyelashes. And shade that in a little bit. And do the same thing over here. Shade, shade, shade a little bit. Go across the iris. Okay, go across all the way across like I'm going. And then you could also add a little bit of shade towards the bottom. Not a lot. Add a little bit of shade at the bottom. Okay, and then you can start to add, if you want to add some marks down here because we have little lines around our eyes. And you can go back and darken gently some of those marks if you want to. Now, if you'd like, sometimes our gleam in our eye is actually more in the iris than the pupil. So you can always kind of take your pencil if you want to and erase that line here where that makes up your pupil. So that it looks like your eye is gleaming a little bit into your iris like that. Okay, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You can also take your pencil and darken around the corners of your iris. Okay, now you had a blank piece of paper, then you had a paper with all these weird circles on it, and now you have 2 eyes staring at you. And if your eyes don't look exactly like mine, I go in and I'm gonna add some more flicky lines, flicky flick lines for my eyebrows. That's okay, because everything gets better with practice. So if this is your first time drawing eyes, be proud of yourself for drawing eyes this way. Now, the reason why we have the space in the middle, that's the quote unquote third eye space where your nose would be or your nose goes. And that's about the amount of space you have between your eyes on your face. I mean, obviously it's not this large, but you have what's called the third eye space where you, that's how you can use to make sure you put eyes on the face in the correct position. We talked about exaggerated proportion for abstract portraits. So this is real life or realistic proportions. Okay, folks. Now, if you thought this was fun, or if you're like, oh my gosh, I can draw eyes now, you can keep practicing this, okay? You can keep practicing drawing eyes if you'd like, but I would love to see what you do. Send it to me on Schoology so I can see how your first attempt went. But yeah, you can keep practicing this, and if you want to, you don't have to keep redoing this pattern. Just keep putting this pattern that we drew behind another sheet of paper so that you can keep practicing drawing eyes. I hope I made sense, folks. I'm glad that I got through this without coughing or making any funny noises, except, you know, listening to me talk. But have a great week. I hope you had fun. I'll talk to you soon, my friends. Goodbye.